And good morning, Westfield. It is Wednesday, November 27th, and you are listening to Rock on Westfield with your host, Harry Rock, on WSKB 89.5 FM and Community Programming Cable Channel 15. We are thrilled to have you here with us today in the control room, actually playing along with the YMCA, which is unbelievable.
First time ever.
I know it. The great Pete Coles. You can actually see him on the monitor. I love when he can patch himself in now so you can see him. A nice-looking goatee, by the way, Pete.
Thank you. I got to trim the hair, though. It's getting long.
I know it.
Keep it neat, Pete. Keep it neat.
I know. It's got to go.
And with sitting to my right here, or to your left as you're watching from Cable Channel 15, our viewers, thank you for being with us today, and our listeners, is our acting mayor, Ralph Figy. And Ralph, you have to know that Pete Coles is the only person I let push my buttons other than my wife. And oh, what a job he does on that big control board.
Well, nobody better than Pete. You gotta like that.
Because if he doesn't push the right buttons, we're not on the air. That's
all about
for sure.
The buttons.
Weird
all
things happen if I
buttons.
start pushing the wrong buttons.
Oh, I know it. Wednesday, November 27th. It's hard to believe that a week from now we are celebrating Thanksgiving. Weather's starting to feel very chilly, very fall-like. We're in the 40s now. A little bit of sun, a little bit of drizzle, rain. We're starting to get that in between where it's too cold for summer activities and not cold enough yet for winter activities. The transition months I struggle with, meaning the November
mud
and
seasons?
March I struggle with because you can't really do one or the other.
Nothing but walk in the mud.
Yeah, I know it. But it's definitely feeling like the holidays. You know, Christmas lights are up. I see several Christmas tree farms. They're selling all of their trees and stuff. So, yeah, it's hard to believe Christmas is just a matter of weeks away. But my guest today is Ralph Figy, who is the acting mayor of the city of Westfield, and we're going to be discussing the status of politics in Westfield and his role as the acting mayor until January 7th when Mayor-elect Don Humison gets sworn in.
Actually, it's going to be the 6th.
Oh, is it on the 6th?
It's on the 6th,
Okay, yeah. I had information
and
as
the inaugural ceremonies will be at the Westfield Technical Academy.
Oh, right
in
here.
the auditorium.
Excellent.
That should help you out, Pete, if you feel like you want to take a field trip with your kids and do a little.
Yeah, we were discussing whether we're going to carry that live for the first time. I got to talk to the incoming mayor and see if he wants to do that.
And culinary is going to have some goodies for the people as they come in.
Oh, very cool. And so that'll be the time that you give up your role. But we're going to talk about that a little bit. And just so that our viewers know where we are in Studio 120, the fabulous new Studio 120 here at Westfield Technical Academy. And we have a blue screen behind us, a blue wall, and Pete is able to take images. There's one that I sent him from this summer. I know, the cake that I love.
It's back.
It's back. I know. It's actually up in Hatfield right now. Pete sent me a photograph of it, and
this is what it looks like without that.
Yeah, that's the blue wall.
That's too boring, Pete. Too boring.
I know it. And Ralph, just so you know, in the future, what I've learned about the blue wall is don't wear anything blue because all of a sudden you disappear and all you have is just head that's floating around. So it's kind of funny.
Sounds like a new horror movie.
I know it. But Ralph, I'm thrilled that you're able to join us today. As an acting mayor, I'm sure there's a lot of things. Your role has been as the president of the council, but when you become the acting mayor, a lot of other responsibilities and spending time in City Hall. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but I always find that our listeners are interested to get to know the person behind the title. And just who is Ralph Figy, and where'd you grow up? What were your hobbies? Where'd you go to school? How'd you end up in Westfield? And you've got it. I know you have a very interesting background, so it'd be interesting for our listeners to learn a little bit about Ralph Figy, the acting mayor of the city of Westfield.
Well, I was born and raised in a small farming community outside of Toledo, Ohio. It was called Wauseon. Wauseon, Ohio is a town of about 7,000 people.
Really small.
It is small. We went through all the grade schools, middle school, high school there. Graduated in 1969. with 145 of my peers.
Wow.
So we had 145. We just celebrated our 50th class reunion.
Yeah.
And out of the 145, 100 showed up.
Wow.
So that was a tremendous response. It was a great time to reconnect with people. From Wauseon, I went on to college at Anderson University in Anderson, Indiana. I got a BA in political science with a minor in social studies and education. Became a certified teacher through that program. And then that was when the crash of 73 hit. Economics were not good. Nobody was hiring anybody. So I traveled the country visiting classmates, people that I had met. And my last stop was in Williamstown, Massachusetts. Now,
Really?
here's the farm boy from the flatlands coming into the mountains of the Berkshires. And wow, was that pretty darn cool. So my roommate at the time had an apartment. We hung out. I got a job at Sprague Electric as a managerial trainee. Through Sprague, they put me through graduate school. I got my Master's of Education at North Adams State.
Wow.
And then I met my wife-to-be, and she was living down here. She just got appointed to the Westfield Police Department, so things as they were. I moved to Westfield.
Now, where did you actually meet her?
I was working, after I got laid off from Sprague, I was working for 6 months a year as a forest ranger for the Department of Environmental Management, which is DCR now.
Wow.
And the other half, I'd work at various ski areas in the Berkshires, Brody, Mount Raymer, Jiminy Peak.
Oh, sure.
And so we had a tour company from Philadelphia that would bring people up from Philly to the Berkshires to ski. I would work the rental shop, get the kids out. So he moved his operation out of the Marriott in Springfield. She was working security for Bay State West. So she used to let me into the ski shop. And so I kept asking her out, and finally she gave in, and we had a date, and the rest has been history.
Oh, that's funny. And
So,
you've got 2 children to show for.
We have, and we've just celebrated 37 years.
Wow.
Of marriage. We have 2 children. The oldest is Dr. Sean Figy, who is he's got such a convoluted title. He is a microsurgeon at the Kansas Buffer Hospital in Omaha, Nebraska. So as a microsurgeon, he was originally trained in plastic surgery. So he's a plastic surgeon with microsurgeon training at Ohio State, and now he's practicing in Omaha. He's just doing a crack-up job. He's happy, he's busy, and it's been a good move for him. He's a product of the Westfield Public Schools. From there, he went to Siena College over in Loudonville, New York. From there, he went to the University of Toledo Med School. From there, he went to UMass Medical for a 6-year residency.
Was it really that long? 6 years?
Yeah, 6-year residency, because you got to do a 3-year general surgery residency first, and then you do 3 years of plastics.
I remember him talking about that. I didn't realize it was 6 years. That went by fast.
Wow.
Then he went to Ohio State for a year to be a microsurgeon, and now he's practicing. So he's had a long road, but it's been.
And he's also a product of our leaders program from the Westfield YMCA when I was the
Absolutely.
director. I remember him
He was
being one
there.
of our leaders.
He was.
Along with your daughter.
And Lauren is now the supervisor of science, engineering, and technology for the Westfield Public Schools. It was a newly created position. This is her 2nd year in that, and I think she has done a great job there. She, too, graduated from Westfield High School. From there, she went to Ohio Wesleyan University, got her education degree. She's certified in 48 states, I believe, right now.
Wow.
And then she went to Chicago.
Yeah.
She started her teaching career on the south side of Chicago in an all-boys charter high school.
Wow.
And did that for 3 years. Came back to Western Massachusetts and worked at Commerce High School for 3 years. And then last year was her first year with the Westfield Public Schools. So both kids have done extremely well.
Credit to their parents, I might add.
I give credit to a lot of things. I think the YMCA has helped definitely shape their direction, their whole identity, their mother and myself, but also the teachers and the staff at the public schools where they got their foundation.
Yeah.
And from there, they've been able to go wherever they wanted to do what they needed to do. and they had that foundation. So,
Well, no question. It always takes a village, and
Mm-hmm.
having that foundation, those cornerstone building blocks, so to speak, to help give them a sense of values and ethics. Or certainly they get their work ethic and their desire to do the best they can from both you and your wife Sue, who are just terrific role models and volunteers and leaders within our community. So they pick right up on that. You see those traits in them.
Yep, and they are involved. Lauren is now on the board of the YMCA. She's on the board of directors there. And,
Oh, is she?
And
Wow.
Sean's very involved in the American Medical Association. So,
Okay.
so they both are starting to do the give back stuff. So, it's
What
good
were
to
your
see.
hobbies growing up?
We didn't have too many hobbies back then. We didn't have any computers or any video games. My grandfather owned a poultry farm, so all our summers were spent working on the farm.
Oh, wow.
We would bale hay for a penny a bale.
Oh, really?
You take it out of the baler and stack it on the wagon.
A penny a bale?
Penny a bale.
That's a lot of bales
A
before
lot
you
of
got
bales
$1.
before you got $1. Or then we would hoe cornfields and bean fields.
Oh.
And we get a nickel a row for every one of those we did. So
Wow.
Sounds like when I was that young, 10, 12, something like that. My uncle worked for a liquor distributor. And during the week, as a part-time job, he'd go around and pick up all the empties when the bottle bill started. So we get a penny a case, helping him load all these big 10-case bags into the truck to bring them back to the distributors. So,
Oh, that's funny.
but in the 80s, and $20, a lot of money when you're a kid.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. So
Now you're currently the track coach here at Westfield Technical Academy. Did you run track yourself at all?
I never ran track.
Really?
It's a long story how I got involved. I became a track official 25 years ago.
Okay.
And then when Sean became a freshman, some of his buddies were running indoor track. Their sophomore year, the coach they had was not welcomed back by the league. So the program was going to fold unless they could find a coach. So they came to the house and said, Mr. Figy, we want you to be our track coach. I said, guys, I don't know anything about coaching track. I can officiate, but I can't coach. They said, don't worry about it. You fill out the paperwork, you do the paperwork, and we'll take care of the rest. I said, all right, well, okay, guys, I'm on board. However, you need to go into the living room and get Mrs. Figy on board. So they did. Johnny Raymakers and a couple of the other guys.
Oh, sure, right.
Went in. They convinced my wife it was a good thing because she could spend the check. And I began coaching indoor track up at Westfield High School.
Oh my goodness.
And I did that for 10 years.
Wow.
And in that meantime, I was already coaching boys soccer. And then Sean Jennings was the high school track coach. When he left, I took over the outdoor track program as well. So in 2012, my wife and I both retired, and that was the last year I coached. So then I became a mentor here at the Technical Academy, and the superintendent, who was then the principal, was trying to expand opportunities for kids at the school. So the first thing he thought of was, let's have a cross-country team. So how do you tell Stefan no?
Yeah,
He came to me and says, you're my cross-country coach. This is what we're going to do. I said, okay. So our first year was, I think, 2014. We had 6 kids. This year the program has grown to, we had 24
Wow.
athletes.
Good for you.
So we have both a full boys team and we have a full girls team.
Wow.
I have a great assistant coach in Emmett Morrill. Next year, our plan is to add Victoria Camp to the coaching staff, so there'll be 3 of us. And I'll tell you, the kids have really responded. The boys came in 18th out of 25 teams in Western Mass. So,
Good for you.
It's a program that's growing. And it really is an inclusive program, and I'm really, really proud of what Emmett and I have been able to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we have to take a quick break here. We will be back after we run our list of supporters and sponsors for this program. You are listening to Rock On Westfield with your host, Harry Rock. It is Wednesday, November 27th. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM and Westfield Community Programming Channel 15. We are going to take you out with the Mayor song just for Ralph Figy.
Mayor, 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 mayor. M-A-Y-O-R, M-A-Y-O-R. Mayor, 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 mayor. Mayor, mayor, mayor. Mayor, 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 mayor. M-A-Y-O-R. Mayor. 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 Mayor, 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 mayor. Mayor, 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 mayor. M-A-Y-O-R. Mayor. 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 Mayor, 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 mayor.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
It's Tuesday morning from 6 till 8. Wow, it's Tuesday with Bob Plass.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
And welcome back, listeners. You are listening to Rock on Westfield with your host, Harry Rock, Wednesday, November 27th. And in the studio with me today, actually having a very interesting interview, is Acting Mayor Ralph Figy. Really, I learned a lot about your background that I did not know about. I knew that you were from Ohio, and I know that you
Go
drive out
Bucks.
there every holiday. You'll be out there and you do that long drive out there. But wanted to talk a little bit about Westfield form of government. You've been on the council how many years?
This will be completing my 6th year.
Wow, so
this is three full
You've been
terms.
around for a while. But a lot of we always hear about the weak mayor, strong council type of government that we have here. Other cities have a strong mayor, weak council.
Correct.
What does that mean, and how does that come about?
Our charter, when they wrote our charter back in, I think it was 1919, they wrote it, and then 1920 it took effect, formed the creation of our government. And the idea of a weak mayor, strong council is that they didn't want one person running the show. So the mayor has his responsibilities and what he can do spelled right out in the charter, as does the city council. Now, the city council is strong because everything the mayor does has to run through the council for its approval. So now you need to get 7 votes out of the 13 if you're going to be trying to do something. So it encourages the mayor and the council to work together. The whole idea was corroboration and working together for a common goal. Some mayors are more successful with that than others. Some struggle with that. It all depends on the personalities on the council as well as who's sitting in the corner office. So that's how it all was spelled out in our city charter.
So you've answered a couple of questions already. So there's 13 councilors.
There are 13 councilors, and that's broken down with 7 at-large and 6 ward.
Okay.
Now, we added the 6th ward about 15 years ago. Before that, there was 5 wards, so there was only 6 at-large. You always want an odd number.
Yeah, right.
So there was 11. So when they increased the wards, they increased the at-large. So now there's 7 at-large councilors and 6 ward councilors.
Now, in this case, as the mayor does not have a vote on council votes. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
So you've stepped up as acting mayor. Do you lose your vote as a city councilor for your ward?
So the charter, a lot like our Constitution, really took into consideration possibilities. So if the mayor is incapacitated, or if the mayor resigns for whatever reason, the president of the city council becomes the acting mayor, virtue of the office of being the president of the city council. So now you have a confusing situation, because remember your civics. Remember, there's 3 branches to the government: you got
Right.
your executive, your legislative, and your judicial. On the local level in Massachusetts, we only have 2. We have the legislative, which is the city council, and we have the executive, which is the mayor. We don't have local courts.
Right.
So we use district court through the state. So what happens now is you have one person assuming the role of the president of the council as well as the mayor. To me, that's a conflict. So what I did was I voluntarily stepped down from running any of the council meetings and asked for a president pro tem to be selected to do that instead.
Okay.
So I need to keep the title of president of the council to keep the title of acting mayor. So what I've done is I'm no longer running the meetings, but I am going to the meetings and participating as the Ward 2 city councilor. So Ward 2 still gets representation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was, to me, just to keep things clarified,
Right.
to keep from muddying the waters.
Sure.
It was easier for me to do it that way. When I ran that by the law department, they thought it was a great idea. And that's where we went with that. So
Who's the acting president or president pro tem right now?
John Beltrandi was selected
sure.
as president pro tem for last night, and it's my feeling that he'll be running the meetings for the rest of the year. We have tomorrow night's meeting, Thursday night we have a meeting. So that's the second meeting in November, and then we have the 2 December meetings.
So you have 2 meetings a month,
Mhm.
always on Thursdays?
Yeah, it's always the first and third Thursdays of the month.
And what time does that start?
The city council meetings start at 6 o'clock, or 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Excuse me.
7.
Yep.
And then they go on till whenever business
Whenever
is.
business
Okay,
ends.
on that note, I have a question. Was that budget meeting that I worked at the longest meeting in council history?
It certainly isn't mine. I don't think anybody has had a. How long did that go? 9 hours?
It was just over 9 hours.
A little over 9 hours. Yeah,
Yes.
that was a marathon. That was. It wasn't as productive as we had hoped it had been, but yeah, we did make some work out of it. So
Yeah.
we did some things.
Now, how do you become council president?
We will have our inauguration on January 6th this year here at the Westfield Technical Academy in the auditorium. At 11, that's probably at 9. At 11,
For the mayor.
For the mayor and the city council, the school committee, the G&E commissioners.
Oh,
we all
sure,
get sworn
right.
in,
Yep.
at the same ceremony. And then at 11:30, there'll be a special city council meeting. At that meeting, the councilors will then select who's going to be president for this year coming.
Okay.
So every January, the city council selects a president. It can be the same person. It can be a different person. It's whoever gets 7 votes. You need a majority of the councilors to support your candidacy to be president of the council. So that's how that works, and that's all set up through our charter as well.
Now, do you self-nominate? Do people throw your name into nominate? How do you even get to the point where people say, could there be 2 people running
You
for
could
council
have 2
president?
people, you could have 3 people, you can have 7 people. It all depends
Running
on how
for-
many. Normally, people have a feeling as to how things are going to go. Somebody might say, "Hey, look, I'd like to run for president. Would you support me?" Those things happen. So somebody will make a nomination. That nomination will be seconded, and it'll go from there. So that's how that works.
And is it typical that a president stays in term it's 1-year term?
It's a 1-year term.
And do you go for multiple terms typically, or does
Typically,
it
it
move around
changes
a
every
lot?
year. However, there have been some years. I think in my second term, Councilor Bean was president for both years. So it can happen. I don't know how that works out. It all depends on the body and how they feel the person's doing in the presidency. If they think he's doing a good job, he would get the votes to stay. If they're unhappy with it, then they'd look for a change.
So what are the responsibilities as council president?
The council president has a couple big responsibilities. The first one is they appoint their fellow councilors to the standing committees that we have.
Okay.
So it's up to the president to make those committees up, and the first person listed is the chairperson of that committee. So that's an important function, because there's some committees that are much more busy than other committees, like your Legislative Ordinance Committee, your Finance Committee are extremely busy. PAC, Personnel Action, and Zoning, Planning, and Development, those are another couple committees, and along with License, that does quite a bit of work. Then on top, after that, depending upon the members of the committees, our council rules suggest certain people from certain committees be liaisons to the various city departments. So that's the other part that the president needs to do, is to appoint liaisons to the various departments. I'm the liaison for the school department and the council on aging. So those are what I have been pretty much since I've been on council. So that's an important piece. And then the president is responsible for running and conducting the meetings.
Okay.
The council meetings. And then if a special meeting is needed, he needs to petition the city clerk in order to schedule that. So we just had a special meeting last night where we set the tax rate. Now, we had a public hearing before that. That public hearing was scheduled for 5, and it lasted an hour and 20 minutes. It was very, very well attended. A lot of people showed up. They had some great questions for the assessor. She did a marvelous job answering the questions. And then once that was done, we adjourned. We started the special council meeting, and we set the rate for next year for where our taxes are going to be. So,
Okay.
so those are all the responsibilities. And it's not an easy thing to set a special meeting, because we have limited space that we can utilize for a meeting of that size. Council chambers is it. And a lot of other commissions and boards use that room as well. So it worked out well last night.
Wow, very, very interesting. Social media has really changed how politics have been perceived, and we see that, even with our president, with tweeting and Facebook, and the tenor of the country has changed a lot, I think, because of social media. Do you feel that has had a bearing on local politics here as well, or not so much?
I think social media has played a role in perception. I think it can be, if used appropriately, a new way of getting information out. However, all too often it's just one side of any picture. And Facebook should not be where you go to get the information you need. It could be a starting place. It could be a good place to have discussions. But you still need to go and get the information you need from the proper source, which is a city department or to a city councilor. I think that one of the downsides is that not every councilor is on Facebook. Not every city councilor is engaging in conversations. It's easy to be criticized unfairly or fairly through social media. And I think it takes that personal interaction, the personal contact, that I think is one of the reasons I got into politics, is to have that with people. You have a problem, let's solve your problem. But I like to know who I'm working with. So it has its positives, it has its negatives, like anything else.
Yeah.
But it is something that we have to deal with.
Yeah, no question. Well, we're going to take another break here so that our sponsors can tell their story. You are listening to Rock On Westfield with your host, Terry Rock. With me as my guest today is Acting Mayor Ralph Figy, having a very interesting interview. Wednesday, November 27th, you are listening to WSKB 89.5 FM and Westfield Community Public Cable Channel 15. We are going to be right back. We're going to take you out with a song by John Mayer called Waiting on the World to Change.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Noble Hospital, a brand new name for a Westfield institution which is improving the health of our community every day with quality and compassion. Noble Hospital and Bay State Health, better together.
It's Tuesday morning from 6 till 8. Wow, it's Tuesday with Bob Plass.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
And welcome back, listeners. You are listening to Rock On Westfield with your host, Harry Rock. Wednesday, November 27th. Time is about 9:36 in the morning. No, 8:36 in the morning. I'm getting my times messed up here as I'm looking at the big clock really quickly. Temperatures are going to be in the 40s.
You got to do the full radio thing. It's 36 past the hour.
36 past the hour. I know. I don't do the
Is that
Kenny
something they teach you in
Stomsky.
radio school?
Yeah,
I never went to radio school, but I've heard enough of them.
I know, like the Ken Stomsky thing. But anyway, in the you are listening to Rock On Westfield with Harry Rock, and
Kenny would say in his house.
in his house, right? But sitting with me, by the way, the voice that you're hearing is our producer, Pete Coles. He's in the control room,
myself
so
in.
you can't see. There he is.
Yes, I'll pop
Popped
myself
in.
Popped up again.
Yep, he's looking mighty good with that new goatee he's got there too. I might add, it's
Looking
very-
old.
Very distinguished.
looking
It's
good.
not old, Pete. It's called distinguished.
I know it.
Yeah, there you go.
But with me here in the studio today, having a great interview, is Ralph Figy, who's the acting mayor of the city of Westfield, and just learning a lot of stuff about how city council works and our charter of government as a weak mayor, strong council, and just how that works. But want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about your role and responsibilities as a acting mayor. I think a lot of people kind of say, so Brian Sullivan, our former mayor, is gone, and you've now been appointed by charter to move, not even
Correct.
appointed, but you are, not sure the word appointed is right, but
No,
you're
just
designated by charter to move
Compelled
up.
by charter.
compelled. or-
Compelled by charter because your role as president
Council
of the
president.
council, you
Right.
automatically step up.
Exactly.
And I think people have a lot of questions about, so what authority do you have and what can you do, what
Well,
can't you do? And
I think the best analogy is I'm kind of like the Queen of England.
okay.
I don't have a whole lot of powers,
Okay.
but I can cut ribbons. I can lead parades. I can keep the city moving. So
Okay.
anything that needs to be done that will keep the city moving and functioning, I have the authority to do. I can't hire anybody.
Okay.
I can't fire anybody. I can't sign any. I can't negotiate any union contracts. I
Okay.
can't do anything like that. But I can sign the paperwork that needs to be signed to keep the city moving. I sign payroll every other week. I'm sure people are real concerned about that. So the payroll gets signed. I can sign warrants. I can do things like that. But a lot of the stuff like appointing people to boards or commissions, I can't do that. I can't hire somebody for a job. I can't let somebody go for poor performance. It's just things like that we get to do. So
Sounds like all the fun stuff of
Well-
what a mayor can do is what you get to do, and all the not so fun stuff, the administrative headaches, that you just hold on and
Well,
till the new person
there's
gets.
still things that you need to deal with because I need to be the transition from the sitting government to the incoming
Right.
mayor. So I need to meet with department heads to see what their concerns are. So when Don and we're going to have a series of meetings. I have the first one tomorrow to try to bring him up to speed as to what's happening in the city. What are the hot issues? What are the hot button topics? What needs to take some immediate concern? What can sit on the stove for a while? So I need to learn all that stuff because I haven't been in that situation. Now, I only can remember since I've been living in Westfield, there's only been one other time we've had an acting mayor, and that was twice with Charlie Medeiros.
Oh, really?
Charlie was was the president, so he was. And if you go down the Hall of Fame and you see all the pictures, you see Charlie up twice as acting mayor. So the last time this happened was when Rick Sullivan left to work for the Patrick administration.
Okay.
And Charlie, as president of the council, took over then.
So your picture will go up on the wall? And
Well, if
outside City
past
Council
practices continue, it appears to be.
Oh, my goodness.
I'll get my picture on the wall.
And so for our listeners and viewers, if you've never been in City Hall, it's well worth coming in. City Hall is actually an interesting building inside. There's a lot of plaques and items of interest that line the hallways, both on first floor and second floor in particular, not so much on the third floor, but if you go to the first floor and second floor, you'll find a lot of things, especially on the second floor. And what Ralph is describing right now is outside City Council chambers on the wall of the hallway closest to the city mayor's office. There's a series of photographs of all the mayors of the city, going back to
Quite a ways,
1920, actually.
I think.
That would be our first one, which is Mayor Sears.
I'm not that good on trivia.
Yeah, I think it's Sears or Seals, something like that. Pete, maybe you can help me out with that.
I can't help you out with that one. You should have told me. I would have taken a picture last night when I was over there.
I know it.
Oh, you could have walked
I know
out
it.
with
It's
the Sears,
Sears,
chamber.
Yeah.
Seals, I think, something
Seals.
like that. But anyway,
And just to follow up on
And
that,
one of,
Harry,
and one of the only few women mayors in the. Actually, I think
That's
she's one of the
true.
first in the country.
I think she was.
Yeah.
Yes. Now her name slips in my mind, but yeah, she
yeah, because
Burke. Miss
Burke, right?
was
Alice Burke.
that, and that was back in the 50s.
Is it Mary?
I'm not.
Mary?
Alice Burke.
Alice Burke.
Alice
That's
Burke.
it.
There's a way named after her.
Yeah,
Right.
right off of East Silver.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Alice Burke Way.
Wow.
So, and inside council chambers is pictures of the councils.
Yes.
Counselors
that's
are up
correct.
on the wall, so
That is
you can
correct.
go back and look at the names and faces and see what's
Wow.
back there.
So it's interesting. So you will be and will have a series of meetings with incoming Mayor Don Humison,
Correct.
just to help that transition.
Right.
Okay. So let's talk about when and where does that transition of power take place? The transition of power.
The transition of power will happen on January 6th at inauguration.
Okay.
When Don is sworn in as the mayor of Westfield, then my role terminates, and I revert back to a city councilor because we will be electing a new council president in a couple
so
hours
you're not
after
even,
that.
Okay. So you're not
so
even
yeah.
going back as council president
I would probably
in the role
right.
automatically. So you have to be elected in if you're
Correct.
going to continue.
Correct.
Now, is there any big transfer, or is it you passing keys, or is it just he gets sworn in and you just automatically drop off?
Well, I give my keys to the mayor's office to Tommy Curran, who's our head custodian there at the city hall, and he'll give them to Don when he comes in. So that's our transfer of power.
Okay.
Is the key to
there's
the
actually
office.
a key to the office.
there is a key to the office.
I did not realize that. Interesting. And so possibly you will be reelected as council president come January. That's something you're interested in, or
No,
or
I
not necessarily?
I think it's time to let somebody else run as council
Okay.
president. It's been a interesting and challenging year as council president, so I'm looking forward to just sitting back and representing the people in Ward 2. I had a challenger this year, which was a good thing. Competition and choices are not bad.
You're right.
And as a result, I got to get out with more of an emphasis of getting into the ward and walking the streets and seeing the condition of the sidewalks, the condition of the roads, the condition of our trees, and realize that we got some work to do. So I want to focus on that.
What is the boundary? You have a very large ward. I don't know if it's the largest.
No, it's not the largest, but it's kind of unique. I mean, if you were looking at a map, and you might say, well, they gerrymandered that ward, but they really didn't. If you start down by the Sunoco station on South Maple Street and Mill,
Oh, yeah.
use that. My ward comes right up South Maple. I have both sides of South Maple, so I have Riverside and Squawfield. But it also goes up the east side of Mill Street, all the
Okay.
way to the corner of West Silver.
Okay.
And then that heads, and I have all of West Silver, all of East Silver, So I have that chunk.
Noble
Noble
is in your
yeah.
Noble Hospital.
Noble Hospital is not because it's on
Oh,
it's on the north side.
Oh.
I have the south side of West Silver Street.
Oh, okay.
And then I head
I see.
north.
Got it. Right.
I go up Pleasant Street to like Bush. I cut over to Broad Street. That goes up. I have the east side of Elm Street, and that goes all the way up to Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
So I cross the river. I'm on the north side. So Notre Dame goes to, I take Notre Dame across to Mosley, take
Yep.
Mosley Avenue down. And then on Union Street, I go to the salt pile.
Oh, wow.
And I have all that there. So I have the island in the middle by the butcher block.
Oh, yeah.
That's all mine. Plus I have all of Meadow Street and all the streets that go off of Meadow Street.
So you have are the Twin Bridges in your ward?
One of them.
One of them.
One of them.
And the park there,
And that
Half
park.
Mile Park
Yeah,
is yours.
half of Half Mile Park.
Half of half.
Because two and three split down Elm Street.
Okay.
And then I think I go with one. Once we go over the river, I think it becomes one
Okay.
on the other side. So
Okay.
it's like
Very
Munchies. That's in Ward 1, I believe.
Yes, Munchies is right.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that would make sense. Wow,
Yeah,
that is
it's
really
unique.
really-
It's unique.
right. You know, I have watched you on Channel 15 on council meetings and stuff, and you do a great job as council president, running the meetings.
Thank you.
And what I've come to learn about that, and I was always a student of Robert's Rules of Order
Correct.
when I was a director of the YMCA, because we needed to run all of our meetings. And I've been president of a number of different organizations. I was president of Stanley Park and certainly president of Westfield 350. And I've always used Robert rules as a means by which to conduct business. Is that the preferred, or is that the
We have a
accepted means, or how do you run meetings?
We have a combination of rules. We have our own set of rules that is set up for the council rules. If that doesn't cover it, then we revert back to Robert's Rules of Order. Now, one of the things I learned in high school through the FFA, Future Farmers of America organization, is how to conduct a meeting using Robert's Rules of Order. We used to have competitions where we would go down around and compete against other schools in parliamentary procedure.
Okay.
So I have a background that I never thought I'd be using, and now I'm using it quite a bit.
Yeah.
So that's how we operate. We have our own set of rules, and then we revert back to Robert's Rules of Order. You know, some of the counselors didn't realize that there's 3 motions you cannot debate. There's no debate on a motion to end debate. There's no discussion on a motion to table, and there's no discussion on a motion to adjourn.
Right.
So those 3 have no discussions. So if somebody wants to end debate, they don't realize that, well, we can't discuss ending debate. We got to vote on ending debate.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, no, you're very quick with your decisions of how to run the meeting rules and stuff. And for anyone that has never been schooled on Robert's Rules, it's hard to there has to be a methodical means by which to run meetings that's fair, consistent, and doesn't show favoritism and stuff. And you do an excellent job with that. There's no question about it.
Well, thanks. Like we have a specific rules that says every counselor can debate an issue twice for 5 minutes. So you can only talk twice.
Right.
So as president, it's tough keeping track of who spoke.
Oh, I was going to say, do you
I got
keep
it.
a tally?
I got a chart. I keep a tally.
Oh,
it's the only way I
goodness.
can remember who has spoken, who's next in line to speak.
Right.
'Cause the president has to acknowledge the next speaker.
Right.
So.
Oh, that's interesting. And the thing that I always found interesting is you can choose to. What's the term you use when you say you're not going to follow the rules anymore? There's a term that I always hear you.
Suspend the rules.
Suspending the rules.
Exactly.
Thank you, Pete. That's what I was looking for.
See, I listen
He
to all
does
these
pay
sitting in the
attention.
back room.
Right.
I'm
I
I
listening.
think he's sleeping in the control
Yeah, no,
room.
he's
He's
actually
actually
listening.
listening.
I know it.
Ah,
So when you suspend the rules, what does that mean?
what we do
And
is
then you reinstate the rules.
for example, if we want to take an item out of order on the agenda, we need to suspend the rules so that we can do that, because our agendas are set right up in the rules about what is going to happen, who's going to come next. So if we want to take something out of order, we have to suspend the rules. Say, okay, we're going to take a break from the rules. We're going to do this instead. And then after we do that, we have a motion to return to regular order. So
Now, are there only certain things that you can do that with, or can you suspend the rules for anything?
you can suspend the rules for anything.
Right.
You can suspend the rules if an order, for example, an order needs 2 readings, and it has to be at 2 separate meetings. So you could suspend the rules to have first and second reading in the same night.
Okay.
So something like that could happen.
So some people might say, well, what good is it to have rules if you can just suspend them whenever you want?
Well, you need a majority vote to do that, first of
Okay.
all. And the second thing is you never can anticipate an exception.
Yeah.
So sometimes things happen that need to be done.
Right.
Like the order for elections is an order which needs 2 reads.
Yeah.
Usually we don't get the information we need to set the ballot
Right.
until it's only 1 meeting between that and election day. So
Okay.
we have to suspend the rules to accept the ballot.
Yeah.
So things like that happen.
It's really fascinating, and clearly the role of president, it's more than just a title. You've really got to know how to dispatch business, how to be fair and consistent with all of the other members of the council,
Correct.
and to handle votes, and to ensure that you don't waver away, because if you don't follow the rules, you can be challenged legally. Is that correct? Or?
I'm sure that you can challenge anything legally, but yeah, the rules are set up so that you can run an orderly meeting, so you get everything done that you set forth on your agenda can be completed.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But trying to keep everybody on task, trying to make sure everybody gets what they need, their turn, they can speak, and not forgetting somebody, it can be tough at times.
Yeah.
And trying to make sure when we do come to vote on a motion that everybody on the floor knows what that motion is and what their vote stands for.
Yeah.
So I try to restate the motion before we vote.
Yes, good practice. Well, we're going to take a short break here. Really fascinating interview with my guest, Ralph Figy, acting mayor of the city of Westfield. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the future of the city. And so you are listening to Rock On Westfield, WSKB 89.5 FM, and WCPC Channel 15. We'll be right back. We're going to take you out with John Lennon and Imagine.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
It's Tuesday morning from 6 till 8. Wow, it's Tuesday with Bob Plass.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
And welcome back, listeners. You are listening to Rock on Westfield with your host, Terry Rock. Wednesday, November 27th, 1 week away from Thanksgiving. Hard to believe it. In the studio with me today is Acting Mayor of Westfield, Ralph Figy, and really interesting interview. I've been talking about the council, his roles as acting mayor, his role when he was the city council president, and as he has stated, he's probably not interested in continuing unless the council comes forward and says, look, you're our man and we don't think we have anyone better. And I'm sure knowing Ralph, he would say yes. But Ralph, I think as, we've been kind of in the weeds here talking about the specifics of running the city. Mm-hmm. It's always interesting to hear people's vision of the future. You've served 6 years as a counselor. You've been council president. You're now acting mayor. You've lived in Westfield how many years?
Over 40.
Over 40.
Yeah.
I've been here 28, going on 29. So you've seen a lot of changes in this city. I kind of call it the renaissance that's going on right now with everything that's happened downtown. I'm so excited to see what is happening, but would be curious to, and I think for our viewers and our listeners, to kind of hear your thoughts on your vision of the future of the city. Where do you think we're headed as a city? What are our challenges and opportunities in front of us? And what do you think Westfield's going to look like in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years?
Well, I think there's definitely some projects on the drawing boards that we need to get across the finish line. I think the first and foremost is a new or remodeled elementary school for the downtown students. The cross street didn't work out, and now we're working with the state to assess the property at Franklin Avenue, whether we tear the building down and build a new one, whether we remodel the existing building and add an addition. We're in that phase now where we're going to determine what we're going to do. So that is definitely up there. The other thing that needs to happen is our science labs at both the Technical Academy and Westfield High School need help. They are antiquated. Some of the safety features, for example, the hoods in the chemistry lab don't exhaust anymore, so you can't run chemical experiments without an exhaust.
Wow.
So these things need to be addressed. Some people are saying we need a new high school. Some people say we need a new technical academy. Some people say we need just one new big high school. We'll put both of them together. That's something down the road that we need to look at and determine. But in the short run, we need to get those science labs up to where they need so that they can be functioning. We also need a new police station. Our police station is less than ideal. They can't use the indoor garage anymore because it won't support the weight of cruisers.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's some issues that are real structural issues that we've been able to Band-Aid, but we need to look at a new safety complex for the police department. We spent some money, the fire department, they've upgraded their facilities. They're in much better shape than the police department is. So I think there's that. I think we need to control our growth. We definitely need growth, but we need to be looking at the jobs of the future and then maintaining and improving our educational capabilities to provide the workforce that these industries are going to need. An industry is not going to come to your city if they don't have a workforce that's available, that's trained. They will do some training, but they're looking at the local schools, whether it's the technical academy, the high school, community colleges, or the colleges, to provide that labor force. So those are the areas that I think, and we always need to maintain and work on our roads, our infrastructure, to make sure that that's in there. So there's a lot of different things. If I could design the Jetson City of tomorrow, I don't know what it would look like. I'm very excited to see what the two proposals for the Newberry's lot look like. I want to see what they have and are proposing. So, I mean, some people are disappointed we only got two replies. I'm ecstatic that we got two replies because I was afraid we weren't going to get any.
Right.
So it's better to have two than none. So we'll see what they got. Doesn't mean we have to accept either one of them.
Right.
But one of them or both of them might have some potential for revitalizing that, because the downtown is improving. Bentley Billiards is sold. There's a firm that's going to be putting money into that building to bring that back online. So there are some positive things. We just need to keep moving forward. We need to keep moving in the positive direction.
You look at the downtown corridor right now, and I love all the little shops that are there. Blended Image and Rosewood and Two River Burrito, and we've got the Cupcake Place, and I mean there's just Circuit Coffee doing a great business there in the corner, the bookstore. I mean, there's just so many great little shops there. And I think if we could find, the cornerstone, you've got the old Clemenz's, the old Bentley Billiards, and the old Bank of America.
Right.
We get those three filled with something interesting. Now you've got something really going with downtown.
Well, absolutely. And I think the Bentley Billiard property was purchased because of what might be happening across the street at Newberry's.
Okay.
So it's kind of a domino effect. If we can get one piece of the puzzle in, then the next piece will be coming. So I think that we got to keep the positive momentum. The small business people down on Elm Street and on Main Street have done a marvelous job with what they got.
Yeah.
We got to help them however we can. So it's all been good, and hopefully we can continue that.
Right. It's interesting. There was a commercial on that's been running on television by Westfield Bank, and they shot their commercial. I don't even know what the intent of the commercial was. Probably promoting
Local
credit cards,
banking.
local banking or something. But what you see is this image of a young woman, probably in her 20s. Shopping in Rosewoods, and then she's stopping for lunch outside on the outside tables of Two River Burrito, and the way they shot that, I was watching that and I'm saying, wow, I want to live in that community.
It's almost like it was an advertisement for the city of Westfield.
Yeah, it
very well done.
Very, very well done. But to my point, you had to have something there to shoot. And not only was the commercial very creatively done, but the message that it sends is there's a lot of great stuff happening in downtown Westfield, and people need to explore that and not assume that, well, just because it's downtown, there can't be anything there, so we need to go to the mall or somewhere else. There's a lot of these little shops that are coming in are phenomenal. Certainly the Tavern has done exceptionally well. And matter of fact, I just noticed the other day, I was going down Meadow Street and it was blocked off. for construction, and I had to shoot up, I think it was White Street. And I noticed there's a brand new Polish deli that's opening up right there. They were just loading, they were bringing in all the foods and stuff right near the corner of White and Route 20, Main Street there.
That's been there for a while.
It has?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's been right next to the Walgreens Plaza. It's been there for several years.
Next to the dry
I
cleaner.
didn't
It's
even
been
know
there for
that.
years.
There's
Because-
also a nice little deli butcher shop tucked in on Meadow Street too, in the corner, back in the corner back there. International Market.
Yeah, it's
There's these cool little spots.
Even when you go down School Street, there's some shops that are down there. I don't know how people know that they're there. And I wish there was, even like Munchies, they struggle with an identity because of where they're located. You see these shop owners come in with these small little shops, and you say, gee, how do we help them be successful?
Well, I think the biggest way we can do that is keep your money in town.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to go out of town to get a good meal. You don't have to go out of town to get a good restaurant. You don't have to go out of town to find things. Every time my wife goes into Rosewood, she comes out with bags. So, I mean, the Figgies are trying.
Yeah, the Figgies are. I have to say the Rocks are doing their part too. There's no question. My wife Ann loves to go into these little shops and come out with something. But even the downtown, the Arts Council, Bill Westerland, the work that he's been doing, doing some great work. Certainly all the stuff that the Westfield 350 did this past year, really, really exciting from that standpoint. But we're just wrapping up the Westfield 350 year 2019, and what the listeners and viewers need to know is that there is a new book that we're publishing. It's going to be coming out right around December 14th, 15th, arriving on the 14th, so it probably won't be available till around the 15th, and trying to get it here for that weekend of the 16th and the 17th. There's only 2 weekends left before Christmas. But the history book, which we still have for sale currently at the Athenaeum, the Westfield News, Rosewood, third floor, in the Community Development Office at City Hall. Those are the places you can get it currently, but we do still have that history book available. So if you're looking for a great present for family members or anyone that's grown up or lives in Westfield and just loves the history of the city, you definitely want to get your hands on that. But what you're going to really enjoy is this 176-page hardcover book. It looks very similar to the history book, glossy page filled with photographs. The family photo program that we had, if you were at the big birthday weekend, if you went to the pancake breakfast or to the children's carnival, we had a professional photographer set up, and she was taking photos of families, and all of those photos are in the book. But the book captures everything that we did chapter by chapter, and this is a real souvenir piece for you if you're interested in just remembering everything that took place in the 350. But Ralph, to your point, I think that there is a bright future for Westfield as we look towards the next 50 years, toward the 400th anniversary in 2069. I certainly won't be around. I think Pete probably has a shot. You have a shot.
I don't have a shot.
Well, you're just 1 year older than me, but you're.
I don't think I got a shot either. I'd be pushing 100.
Yeah,
so.
I know.
Well, hey.
You'll be 118. I'll be 117.
118, yeah.
Right,
think about
but
that, 118.
I know it. Hard to believe, but I'm excited about. I wish I could be here on the 400th. We've really set the stage with everything that we've left behind. But I'm excited about the future of Westfield and where it's going. I think that there is a positive culture here, and certainly we've got new faces coming on the city council, a new mayor. Always brings new energy and new vision, and. The mayor's race was certainly close, but Mike McCabe did an admirable job in his run. But to your point,
it was one of the classiest races I've seen ever, and that was what some of the news agencies that came in.
Yeah,
they see all the jaded stuff, but they said this is great. This is very refreshing for them.
I think that it shows. I know that the race I ran in Ward 2 was very positive.
Right.
There was no getting down into the mud and slinging.
Right.
You don't have to do that.
Right.
You're giving the voters a choice. Do you want choice A or choice B? This is what it is. This is who I am. This is what I did.
Right.
That's what you should run on.
Right. You're exactly right. And Ralph, that's why you're the classy individual you are, and why you're so well respected and perfect person to be in the acting role of mayor for right now. But, I hope that, as we look at, the 350-year winding down now, one of the big things that I was trying to promote was civic pride, an opportunity to
I think you had a hashtag to that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
One of many.
Civic pride, love my city, love our citizens. But it was the opportunity to not take for granted everything that makes Westfield so special, but to really remember everything that we have for a city our size. It's amazing the number of attributes and features that we have as a city, and we certainly want to take advantage of that and, promote civic pride, working together. I hope that the city council, it's been a tough couple of years with them and, some divisiveness that's been out there, but I'm hoping that everybody will look forward with a spirit of togetherness and really wanting to do everything they can to keep the big picture in mind, which is the city of Westfield, our children, our families, our teens, our seniors, the adults, the residents. That's who we want to benefit and allow Westfield to be all that it can be, and I think that it really will be. Well, listeners and viewers, unfortunately, our time has come to an end. It is Wednesday, November 27th. You are listening to Rock On Westfield with your host, Harry Rock. In this, in the studio with me is Acting Mayor Ralph Figy. Ralph, thank you so much for the work that you're doing as our acting mayor, and congratulations on your continued another month and a half or 2 months, whatever it is.
Yeah,
you've
the
got.
perfect length of time.
Yeah,
for a mayor.
until
2 months.
January 6th when our new mayor, Don Humison, comes in. And Don, we certainly wish you the best. Certainly want to thank Pete Coles, our producer in the control room behind us. Pete, bring your image up there on the board if you can.
By the way, I'm going to change your last song.
Okay.
As is tradition with used to be the mayor slot when we started community radio. I'm going to edit onto the end of this the entire version of Alice's Restaurant.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
That is a
Perfect,
tradition.
How did I not think about that?
That is
I
tradition
know.
of
Thanksgiving
Thanksgiving.
tomorrow. It's going to be
Right.
perfect.
Yes.
But to our residents of Westfield, I want to wish you a very, very happy and safe Thanksgiving. May your travels be safe. May you not take for granted all the wonderful attributes we have as a city. May you bring your family together. May we thank all of our active duty and retired personnel, military, serving across the seas and here in the United States, keeping our freedoms current and fresh and allowing our country to be everything that it is. But certainly on behalf of WSKB 89.5 FM and Westfield Community Programming Channel 15, we wish you the best of holidays, both through Thanksgiving and when is the tree lighting, by the way? That's coming up.
Tree lighting is December 6th, I believe.
Right,
Let me
so
double
keep
check
that. That's on a Saturday?
Yeah, it's a Saturday.
Saturday, probably.
It'd be the 7th.
December 7th.
There's an awful lot going
Yes.
on the 7th. Yes.
On
Right.
the 7th, there'll be I believe the parade kicks off from the Lutheran Church on Broad
Right.
Street at 6:15 with the tree lighting at 6:30.
Awesome. So we'll hopefully see a strong turnout of people for the parade. Always a lot of fun. And for me, it really does symbolize the start of the holiday season. So on behalf of Pete Coles and Acting Mayor Ralph Figy and myself, Harry Rock, for Rock On Westfield, we wish you the best of holidays. And we are going to take you out with one of my favorite songs of all time, Arlo Guthrie and Alice's Restaurant. Thanks, everybody.
A classic. Thank you.
This song is called Alice's Restaurant. It's about Alice and the restaurant. But Alice's Restaurant is not the name of the restaurant, that's just the name of the song. And that's why I call the song Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Now it all started 2 Thanksgivings ago. It was on 2 years ago on Thanksgiving when my friend and I went up to visit Alice at the restaurant. But Alice doesn't live in the restaurant. She lives in the church nearby the restaurant in the bell tower with her husband Ray and Facha the dog. And living in the bell tower like that, they got a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be. And having all that room, seeing as how they took out all the pews, they decided that they didn't have to take out their garbage for a long time. We got up there, we found all the garbage in there, and we decided it'd be a friendly gesture for us to take the garbage down to the city dump. So we took the half a ton of garbage, put it in the back of a red VW microbus, took shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, and headed on toward the city dump. Well, we got there, and there's a big sign and a chain across the dump saying closed on Thanksgiving, and we had never heard of a dump closed on Thanksgiving before, and with tears in our eyes, we drove off into the sunset looking for another place to put the garbage. We didn't find one till we came to a side road, and off the side of the side road was another 15-foot cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff was another pile of garbage. And we decided that one big pile was better than 2 little piles, and rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down. That's what we did. Drove back to the church, had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep and didn't get up until the next morning when we got a phone call from Officer Obie. He said, "Kid, we found your name on an envelope at the bottom of a half a ton of garbage, and just wanted to know if you had any information about it." And I said, "Yes, sir, Officer Obie, I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under that garbage." After speaking over for about 45 minutes on the telephone, we finally arrived at the truth of the matter and said that we had to go down and pick up the garbage and also had to go down and speak to him at the police officer station. So we got in the red VW microbus with the shovels and rakes and implements of destruction and headed on toward the police officer station. Now, friends, there was only 1 or 2 things that Obie could have done at the police station, and the first was that he could have given us a medal for being so brave and honest on the telephone, which wasn't very likely and we didn't expect it. Another thing was that he could have bawled us out and told us never to be seen driving garbage around the vicinity again, which is what we expected. But when we got to the police officer station, there was a third possibility that we hadn't even counted upon, and we was both immediately arrested, handcuffed. And I said, "Obie, I don't think I can pick up the garbage with these handcuffs on." He said, "Shut up, kid. Get in the back of the patrol car," and that's what we did, and sat in the back of the patrol car and drove to the, quote, "scene of the crime," unquote. I want to tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where this happened. Here they got 3 stop signs, 2 police officers and 1 police car. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 5 police officers and 3 police cars, being the biggest crime of the last 50 years, and everybody wanted to get in a newspaper story about it. And they was using up all kinds of cop equipment that they had hanging around the police officer station. They was taking plaster, tire track, footprints, dog-smelling prints, and they took 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. Took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner, the southwest corner, and that's not to mention the aerial photography. After the ordeal, we went back to the jail. Obie said he was going to put us in the cell. Said, "Kid, I'm going to put you in the cell. I want your wallet and your belt." And I said, "Obie, I can understand you want my wallet so I don't have any money to spend in the cell, but what do you want my belt for?" And it said, "Kid, we don't want any hangings." I said, "Obie, did you think I was going to hang myself for littering?" Obie said he was making sure, and friends Obie was, 'cause he took out the toilet seat so I couldn't hit myself over the head and drown. And he took out the toilet paper so I couldn't bend the bars, roll the toilet paper out the window, slide down the roll and have an escape. Obie was making sure, and it was about 4 or 5 hours later that Alice, remember Alice? It's a song about Alice. Alice came by and with a few nasty words to Obie on the side, bailed us out of jail. We went back to the church, had another Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, and didn't get up until the next morning when we all had to go to court. We walked in, sat down. Obie came in with a 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back each one. Sat down. Man came in, said, "All rise." We all stood up, and Obie stood up with the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures, and the judge walked in, sat down with the seeing-eyed dog, and he sat down. We sat down. Obie looked at the seeing-eyed dog. Then the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, and looked at the seeing-eyed dog. And then the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, and began to cry, 'cause Obie came to the realization that it was a typical case of American blind justice, and there wasn't nothing he could do about it. And the judge wasn't gonna look at the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. And we was fined $50 and had to pick up the garbage in the snow, but that's not what I came to tell you about. Came to talk about the draft. We got a building down New York City, it's called Whitehall Street, where you walk in and you get injected, inspected, detected, infected, neglected, and selected. I went down to get my physical examination one day, and I walked in, I sat down, got good and drunk the night before, so I looked and felt my best when I went in that morning. 'Cause I wanted to look like the all-American kid from New York City. I mean, I wanted to feel like I wanted to be the all-American kid from New York, and I walked in, sat down, I was hung down, brung down, hung up, and all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things. And I walked in, I sat down, they gave me a piece of paper, said, "Kid, see the psychiatrist, room 604. And I went up there, I said, "Shrink, I want to kill. I mean, I want to kill. I want to see blood and gore and guts and veins in my teeth. Eat dead, burnt bodies. I mean, kill. And I started jumping up and down, yelling, kill. And it started jumping up and down with me, and we was both jumping up and down, yelling, kill. And the sergeant came over, pinned the medal on me, set me down the hall, said, "You're our boy." Didn't feel too good about it. Proceeded on down the hall, getting more injections, inspections, detections, neglections, and all kinds of stuff that they was doing to me at the thing there. And I was there for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I was there for a long time, going through all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things, and I was just having a tough time there. And they was inspecting, injecting every single part of me, and they wasn't leaving no part untouched. Proceeded through, and when I finally came to see the very last man, I walked in, sat down after a whole big thing there, and I walked up and said, "What do you want?" He said, "Kid, we only got one question. Have you ever been arrested?" And I proceeded to tell him the story of Alice's Restaurant Massacre with full orchestration and 5-part harmony and stuff like that, and then all the phenomena. Stopped me right there and said, "Kid, did you ever go to court?" I proceeded to tell him the story of the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one. It stopped me right there and said, "Kid, I want you to go over and sit down on that bench that says Group W. Now, kid." I walked over to the bench there, and there's Group W's where they put you if you may not be moral enough to join the army after committing your special crime. And there was all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly-looking people on the bench there. There's mother rapers, father stabbers, father rapers sitting right there on the bench next to me, and it was mean and nasty and ugly and horrible and crime-fighting guys are sitting there on the bench. And the meanest, ugliest, nastiest one, the meanest father raper of them all, was coming over to me, and he was mean and ugly and nasty and horrible and all kinds of things. And he sat down next to me and said, "Kid, what'd you get?" I said, "I didn't get nothing. I had to pay $50 and pick up the garbage." He said, "What were you arrested for, kid?" And I said, "Littering." And they all moved away from me on the bench there to carry eyeball and all kinds of mean, nasty things, till I said, "And creating a nuisance," and they all came back, shook my hand, and we had a great time on the bench talking about crime, mother stabbing, father raping, all kinds of groovy things that we was talking about on the bench. And everything was fine. We were smoking cigarettes and all kinds of things until the sergeant came over, had some paper in his hand, held it up and said, "Kids, this piece of paper's got 47 words, 37 sentences, 58 words. We want to know details of the crime, and that kind of thing. You got to say pretend about the crime, want to know the arresting officer's name, and that kind of thing you got to say." And it talked for 45 minutes, and nobody understood a word that he said, but we had fun filling out the forms and playing with the pencils on the bench there. And I filled out the massacre with the 4-part harmony and wrote it down there just like it was, and everything was fine. And I put down a pencil and I turned over the piece of paper, and there on the other side, in the middle of the other side, away from everything else on the other side, in parentheses, capital letters, quotated, read the following words: "Kid, you rehabilitated yourself." I went over to the sergeant and said, "Sergeant, you've got a lot of damn gall to ask me if I've rehabilitated myself. I'm sitting here on the bench. I'm sitting here on the Group W bench because you want to know if I'm moral enough to join the army, burn women, kids' houses, and villages after being a litter bug." He looked at me and said, "Kid, we don't like your kind, and we're going to send your fingerprints off to Washington, and friends, somewhere in Washington, enshrined in some little folders, a study in black and white of my fingerprints. And the only reason I'm singing you the song now is because you may know somebody in a similar situation. Or you may be in a similar situation, and if you're in a situation like that, there's only one thing you can do, is walk into the shrink wherever you are. Just walk in, say, 'Shrink, you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant,' and walk out. You know, if just one person does it, they may think he's really sick and they won't take him. And if two people do it in harmony, they think they're both faggots and they won't take either of them. And if 3 people do it, can you imagine 3 people walking in, singing a bar, Alice's restaurant, and walking out? They may think it's an organization. And can you imagine 50 people a day? I said 50 people a day walking in, singing a bar, Alice's restaurant, and walking out. And friends, they may think it's a movement. And and that's what it is. The Alice's Restaurant Anti-Master Creed Movement, and all you gotta do to join is to sing it the next time it comes around on the guitar with feeling. So we'll wait till it comes around on the guitar here. Sing it when it does. Here it comes. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. That was horrible. If you want to end war and stuff, you gotta sing loud. You could put a lot. I've been singing the song now for 25 minutes. I could sing it for another 25 minutes. I'm not proud or tired. So we'll wait till it comes around again, and this time with 4-part harmony and feeling. We're just waiting for it to come around is what we're doing. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Excepting Alice, you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. So walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Da 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 da. At Alice's